So the other day, I saw this post online talking about the White Heart from Season 1, Episode 3 of Hot D. If you don't remember, in Episode 3 of House of the Dragon, it was Aegon's name day, and the king called a hunt to celebrate. During this hunt, after being pestered by his big brother Hobart, Otto tried making moves to get his grandson Aegon as close to the Iron Throne as possible. First by proposing he marry his big sister Rhaenyra, and then again by trying to have himself plant her as the heir entirely. The way he wanted to go about that is to find this creature called the White Heart, which is seen as a royal sign, believed to be a magical creature. In A Game of Thrones, the book, Robert Baratheon actually goes hunting for a White Heart, but some wolves end up getting to it first. Otto wants to use the heart as a way to symbolize Aegon's right to the Iron Throne. If he were to catch the creature on his birthday, it could show some form of divine favor for the young prince. There are a lot of symbols of power in Westeros, things used to give meaning to certain situations and people. As a guy with prophetic dreams, Viserys likes to look deep into a lot of things and try to find meaning in them. He becomes obsessed with things like prophecy and the future. It's why he pushed Aemma so hard for a son, because he believed in his dreams, and why he breaks down during the hunt to Alicent, because he gave up on his dream of having a son only for that to happen much later. His dream came true in a different way. He wonders if he made the right choice in choosing Rhaenyra, and he looks for some kind of sign that he made the right decision, which the White Heart could have been when it came to his choice of an heir. In the post that I saw, it said that the White Heart appearing to Rhaenyra at the end of the episode was a clear indicator that she was meant to be the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, that she is the chosen one, and I couldn't help but find that notion utterly ridiculous. So ridiculous that I had to make a video on it and how I feel about not just the White Heart, but symbols of power in general when it comes to the world of Westeros. I don't know how long this video is going to be, probably not that long, but I still think it's an interesting topic of discussion, and I wanted to get some kind of content out today. So as we venture forward, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button for more. Now, I actually find it funny that some people think the White Heart entitles Rhaenyra to the Iron Throne, that the importance of this creature is an irrefutable concrete fact, especially when the first time you ever hear about the importance of the White Heart comes from a schemer, a man whose plan is to undermine the competition by any means necessary to make his grandson look more favorable in the eyes of the king. I mean, think of it like this. If Otto doesn't tell you how important the White Heart is, or about its significance before the end of the episode where you see it, what's to stop you, the viewer, from thinking that it's not just like any other deer aside from its white coat of fur? Imagine that scene with Rhaenyra and the heart without the added context of Otto. You, as the viewer, would know that something is up here because of how the scene is shot, but I doubt that you'd see this as some kind of divine message. Now you may be thinking, of course Empyrean, that's obvious. It's a TV show, they have to add clues and foreshadowing to make things make sense, it's nothing new. But this scene is clearly built up to be something significant and deep. It's supposed to symbolize something important for Rhaenyra, that this creature appeared to her. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that signifies the importance of the White Heart aside from word of mouth. We know that magic and gods do exist to an extent in A Song of Ice and Fire. We see this with people like Melisandre and the Lord of Light, her visions and magic. Though she often misinterprets some of the signs she's given, it's clear that there is some kind of power at play. But that's not the case here. When it comes to the White Heart, there is no divine voice from on high, no magical whoosh to signify that this is important and that Rhaenyra was chosen by it. Yes, I understand this whole scene is symbolic, and there is a bigger picture here for the main character. Trust me, I know. But at the end of the day, the White Heart is just an animal. There is nothing inherently special about it aside from its coat of white fur. The only value that it has stems from what people are willing to assign to it. If Rhaenyra had actually killed the White Heart instead of letting it go and brought it back to camp, do you really think it would have changed anything when it came to the story? Maybe it would have made Viserys more certain in his choice of heir when it came to Rhaenyra, given that he was having doubts. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what she did or did not bring back, considering that for the rest of his life, he supported Rhaenyra regardless, even on his deathbed. But let's take that a step further. Do you think a guy like Otto would have rolled over and said, well, she found the heart, so that means she's destined to rule if she brought it back? No, it's nonsense. The idea that someone has the right to govern just because they found a shiny Pokemon. Especially when you consider the fact that Otto himself doesn't even believe in the White Heart. Otto says himself in the episode that he's never been a man for signs and importance. The only reason he starts buying into it now is because his belief is subjective to what he needs in the moment. And what that is right now is to make Aegon look good. I know it's a fantasy show and I'm thinking very deep into this, which is kind of my job when you look at my videos, But think about it. In real life, if someone caught a white fish and said that this signifies their right to rule over you, you think that that's ridiculous. Just as it's ridiculous to believe that any one person is born with the inherent right to rule the world in general. And in the context of this show, it would be the same here. Even if Rhaenyra did get the heart, it wouldn't have stopped Otto from pushing to make Aegon king. Because symbols only matter to the degree that you decide to invest in them, to the extent that you see them as valuable. And the White Hart is amazing when it comes to House of the Dragon, because it symbolizes a very big aspect of A Song of Ice and Fire when it comes to the characters. And that is people seeing what they want to see, and how apparent symbols of power can actually be very flimsy in the long run. Plenty of characters, like Melisandre, take things out of context in order for them to fit their own narratives and agendas. The things she sees do end up coming true, but not in the way that she wants. Like in the books, she has a vision of a dark-haired girl going north to the wall, and assumes that it's going to be Arya Stark, but instead it's actually a girl named Alice Karstark. People think Stannis is Azor Ahai, the prophesied hero who will save them all, based on a bunch of visions and a flaming sword known as Lightbringer. But the sword is actually nothing special. It's a fake, and its importance is manufactured in order to inspire loyalty and belief in a cause. House of the Dragon continues with this theme of symbols and signs not being all that they're cracked up to be with characters like Aegon. In Season 1 and Season 2, there's this whole discourse about what makes someone a legitimate ruler. Otto uses the reasoning that because Aegon is the firstborn son of the king, with years of tradition and precedent backing him up, then he is the rightful king. But not only that, since he has the name of Aegon the Conqueror, has his crown, has his sword, sits his throne, and was crowned in the same process as the Conqueror himself, then that also makes him seem more legitimate. But as Season 2 rolls around, we see that doesn't matter when it comes to being a leader. Just because he has a fancy chair and a fancy hat doesn't make him fit to lead. Alicent says as much when she chastises Aegon for believing that a crown makes him wise, makes him fit to rule when he puts in no effort of his own. And I find this scene really funny because they use it as a way to humble Aegon and knock him down a peg, but also use this same rhetoric to elevate Rhaenyra. She goes through a similar situation when she's being questioned by her council when it comes to her ability to lead, and then Rhaenys steps in to try and humble the council and set them straight by saying that Rhaenyra wears the crown of old King Jaehaerys, the wisest Targaryen king whose reign outlasted that of even Aegon the Conqueror, who everyone looks up to. I understand what this scene is trying to convey, that violence is not always the key to solving every problem, and in Season 2 they definitely make Rhaenyra more of a pacifist and a peacemaker, and they try to associate that with Jaehaerys' crown. But Jaehaerys the Conciliator, the guy whose crown she's wearing, knew that sometimes violence was not something that could be avoided. He had no hesitation getting into conflict, like when he fought with Dorne multiple times, or when he personally fought in a trial by combat and killed the guy who slept with his daughter Sarah. This whole thing goes back to what happened with Aegon. Just because Rhaenyra is wearing the crown doesn't mean that she's going to be another Jaehaerys. She's not magically imbued with his wisdom and decision-making skills, just because she has it on. Despite all the history and symbolism the crown holds, it means absolutely nothing on its own. It's just an object, and like the White Hart, it doesn't define people. It's defined by people. Let's take this a step further with the Blackfyre rebellions, which happened years after the Dance of the Dragons, when Aegon IV legitimized all his bastard children on his deathbed and allowed them to be able to inherit the Iron Throne. There was conflict between his two sons, Daeron the Good and Daemon Blackfyre. People wanted to support Daemon as king because there were rumors that his brother Daeron was actually a bastard, and the son of his uncle, Aemon the Dragon Knight, and not the king himself. But another reason people followed him is because he had the sword, Blackfyre, which was given to him by the king when he was much younger. People took this as a sign that he was the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, since his father gave him the sword that was once wielded by Aegon the Conqueror himself, which was also held by many kings in the past as well. It's a symbol of the long history and dominance of the Targaryen family, so it's no wonder that people would rally behind it. But at the end of the day, like the crown, like the White Hart, like the Iron Throne itself, Blackfyre is nothing special. Sure, it's Valyrian steel and it's forged with magic, but at the end of the day, what sets Blackfyre apart from the other dozens of Valyrian steel weapons and items is the fact that it was used by Aegon the Conqueror, the man who took over the Seven Kingdoms. He's the reason the sword is famous, not the other way around. Not because it's special or because it gives the wielder a +1000 to all stats or makes them invincible and immune to death. People still die even when they have this sword on them. It's nothing important on its own. So the idea that it gives someone the right to sit on a fancy chair and tell others what to do is pretty ridiculous. When you think about it, if Aegon the Conqueror never wielded this sword, its importance decreases dramatically, since all the hype comes from him and what he and his sisters, Visenya and Rhaenys, managed to accomplish together. If you put the sword on the floor, it's not going to magically get up and win you a kingdom. You have to do that. So at the end of the day, Blackfire, like a lot of powerful symbols, is nothing special by itself. Especially since years later, even with the Targaryens losing the sword and having no idea of its whereabouts in the current timeline, they still managed to rule and hold the Seven Kingdoms for a bit. When they lost the throne, it wasn't because they didn't have their special sword or their special crown. It was because they made stupid decisions. Their king was a madman who burned two of his vassals alive and demanded the deaths of Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon. The prince thought that he was a mythical hero and ran off with a girl who was supposed to marry someone else so we could have a prophecy baby. The whole point of this video is to say, while symbols are important, I find it funny how much value people place on them on their own, when at the end of the day, the value of a symbol comes from the people. And that value can vary from person to person depending on the circumstances and what they themselves believe. It all goes back to what Varys says about power in Game of Thrones. It resides where men believe it resides, and it only has as much influence as you allow yourself to put into it. Like the White Hart, despite how the situation is framed, it's most likely just an animal, and it appearing to Rhaenyra is just a coincidence which you can choose to read into as a divine message. Like Rhaenyra, you can see what you want to see, so you can make sense of it and give it value to your own narrative about who should rule. But what ultimately makes someone important aren't the things that they have, but the actions that they take to give themselves and the things around them meaning. With that being said, that's it for today. Pretty short video and just a little thought that I had, a little break from my usual content. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more videos, tell me your thoughts down below, and I will see you all next time.